And we're back. Okay, so I've sorted all 30 of mine. Again, you're going to be sorting about 100 on your end. And here they are. So I have white at the beginning, then they get darker and darker and darker. I'm then my middle gray's right about here. Then things go from middle gray to dark gray, and finally to black at the end. So there's 30 there. Now, the numbering process begins by checking out what I call the cheater gray. It's on Beachboard. If you're, sorry, this is for multiple audiences. So this is on Beachboard if you are at Long Beach, and this is on .ed if you are at Art Center. So this is something that you can either print out or look at on your screen. This is another instance where remote teaching is a little difficult because this is an analog class. And there is a difference, as you know, between paint and a projected image. There's a term called gamut that refers to the range of colors that are visible on a computer monitor. And frankly, that range tends to make colors appear more intense, especially if you compare it to something that you're printing off of a computer printer. The colors will always be more dull, but it has a lot to do with, frankly, because like printer ink, unless you're going real high end and doing fine art prints and giclées and things like that, the ink just isn't that good, and neither is the paper, because for most instances it doesn't matter. You're just printing out text or something. However, for this, in the past, I always keep these cheater grays literally in my wallet. And would go around the room and test them against your swatches, because you need a place to start. You start with white, all right, which is white out of the tube. All of you have the same white, and all of you have the same black. So the starting points, 1 and the finishing point, 12, 1 and 12, you already have, like everybody has the same thing. This is the hard part, is where to begin. And you want to make sure you're starting with a swatch that isn't too light, not too dark, kind of in that same range. And so it usually isn't, hopefully isn't, the first gray swatch you paint. You have to edit out the ones that are too light. And I would come around and literally do this and go, okay, here's the cheater gray. How does it compare to, the gray on your swatch? And it isn't exact, but it's pretty close. It's definitely darker than white. And it's definitely lighter than the number 3 gray, okay? So this is about where you want to be. Well, it's easy to do that when you're in person. It's harder now that I can't actually share looking at your actual physical grayscale, so we'll do the best we can. So if you have a printer, print out the cheater gray that you'll find on your school's learning management system. Print it out and do what I'm doing. So we start with white. And as you can see here, it's definitely too dark to be the first gray. This one's a little too light too. This one too. This is a pretty good match. Like this gray here is pretty close to what you want to do. So what do I do when I'm sorting? I find that gray and I take any grays that are lighter than that out, okay? Toss them. You don't need them anymore. Now you start numbering. And this is the number 1 gray, which is white, So I tossed 2, so I don't have 30 swatches anymore. If you're painting 100, you'll probably have anywhere from 3 to 6 swatches that are lighter than the cheater gray, and that's about right. Some of you may, if you have grays that are lighter than that cheater gray, and you have like 15 of them, you've made too many light swatches, and we'll see how the rest of the grays work. But generally, you don't want to have that many light grays. You don't want like 15 or 20 really light grays out of 100. That's just too many. So, but I mark this, and I'm sorry again, it's upside down. But so you mark this one 1, then 2. You'll note I am numbering them outside, the square. Okay. 7, and I would go, and I just numbered them all the way down till actually at the end, black is going to be, we had 30, we took out 2, so it's actually going to be 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. I'm going to mark them off in 10 so I can show you something. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, okay. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay. So, but don't skip them like I did. Again, I'm just doing that to speed up the demo. But you have to number all of them, all right? And don't do it on the swatch that, the part of the swatch that's going to show. Otherwise, you've wrecked it, okay? And then what I want you to do, and this is on a separate demo, which I will show you a portion of, which is the actual assembly demo. Again, differences between how I did this in the past. In the past, I have a bag that has like 30 really rough cut windows like this. I don't bother with a ruler. I'm just using, it was something I would bring to the class for everybody so they could use them without having to cut up their own illustration boards. And so what I would do is I would give each student one of these, and you basically, in order to really clearly see how well the grays are arranged, you use this to push them down. And I would come around the room and you'd say, here are all my grays, how do they look? And I'm like, well, you got a bit of a jump right here. These are a little too close. Then of course they are, because it's mostly dark grays, but it's easier to see the differences in the grays if you flatten them all so there's no shadows being cast by any of them, and you eliminate the kind of the messiness of the sides of the swatches. So it makes it a lot cleaner, and I'll show you what to do. In this instance, obviously, I can't be there with you to give you all these free illustration boards, which I am happy to do, and I wish I could do it. But so what you're going to do is just make one of these, and again, that's on a separate demo, and we'll watch that in a minute. And this will also be like your final presentation. Like I would have students start with a rough one, and depending on your illustration board, you can see this one's like whiter, and this one's kind of a cream color. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Like I don't care what if it's not quite perfectly white like this. That's just how illustration boards come. Sometimes they are a little creamier looking. It doesn't matter. So don't worry. You're like, oh, mine's not white. Okay. I'll show you how to cut this, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to turn it over, and again, this is all in the demo, but I've marked off 1-inch spaces everywhere. Okay, and so what you want to do is take your number one swatch, your white swatch, and you're gonna, here's the bottom end, the straight end that you cut, okay, and you're going to line it up with these little, hang on, I'll put this here, try not to mess everything up so you can see it clearly. You're gonna line them up, it goes from light to dark as you go from top to bottom. And just take like like real small pieces of tape. This is not supposed to be permanent. So like you don't want to tear your swatch. So I line it up with see, like here's the two little dots here and here. I just line it up with those and I'm good to go. Now white will always be white. If for some reason the swatch gets dirty, you can always repaint it because it's right out of the tube. So now what I'm going to do is take my cheater gray, is going to be number 2. And I line that up as well. Again, small little pieces of tape, right? Really small. Okay. You know that black's at the end, and so now the game begins. So, yeah, whoops. I lined it up badly. See, that's the first mistake. Okay. And see, they pop right off because I'm just using a little bit of tape. Yeah. So make sure, when you're lining it up, that was my bad, make sure you line it up so that you don't see those little things, those little guys. Now, I'm looking at this, and no matter how I line this up, I can still see the pencil lines. So at this point, actually that's good because a lot of you might have to do this. This is an instance where it's like, go in and repaint the white so that you don't see those pencil lines, okay? And you're like, okay, I'll do that in a minute. But first, you can do that at the very end when you're assembling. If that happens to any of the swatches, like if you can still see pencil lines, it'll only happen with the lighter ones that are more transparent. Like once you get down like past 10, once you're down around here, like you will never see the pencil lines once you get into the middle and darker grays. So I've got this one, and this is my cheater gray. And that's there and there. Okay. There's that one. And like I said now, oh, there you go. And now you have to make decisions. It's like, okay, what's the next one? You know, it's probably not going to be 3 because it's not that much darker. It'll probably be like 5 or 6. That's the reason you number them. So your job is to kind of like temporarily make a decision about where each of them are, okay? You know, where each of the swatches are going to go. You're going to tape them all lightly down. Black is going to be at the very end, all right? And that's what you will submit to me for your initial sorting. You'll say, okay, and please don't just like just pick 12 at random and have me make you like try to figure it out. Please try to do it. I know you won't be able to do it on the first try. Try to do it on the first try. Every now and then some students are able to do it after like only 2 or 3 attempts. Some take more, like 4 or 5, sometimes even longer. And sometimes you just don't have the right number of light, medium, and dark swatches to get the job done, and you have to repaint. You know, because you just don't have the selection you need to have a good grayscale. And we will deal with that with each of you individually. But basically, tape all 12 down so they look like this, you know, take a picture of it and send it to me. And I will take a look at it on my end and go, you know, for example, like this was all not quite perfect, but there was a jump between the 8th and the 9th swatch, okay? Like right here, like it's a little, like there's a nice flow this way, and then it just gets a little too dark, a little too quick. I would have made this one maybe a little, I'd swap it out for a lighter one and make this one a darker one to narrow that gap. But it's really, really close. And so, as I recall, based on her swatch availability, like she just didn't have anything that was gonna fit in like perfectly to, that was as close as her selection of swatches was ever gonna get, which is fine. You know, she still got an A, so no problem. But that's what I want you to do. So you're gonna, again, to kind of go back and recap everything. So once you're done painting, you cut all the swatches out individually the way I showed you. You organize them, you sort them from white to black. You use your cheater gray as best you can. If you have a printer and you can print this out, that's a help because you're actually comparing something analog to something analog. You can do it by looking at it on the screen. Like if you hold this, you know, up to the screen, like next to it, it's never gonna look the same because it's the difference between, this is a good lesson and we're gonna talk about this later in the semester. This is the difference between reflected light on a physical thing or projected light, which is what you're looking at right now. You're either looking at, you know, your phone or a tablet or your monitor or your laptop or something. That is projected light, and it will never be the same. Like you won't get a perfect match comparing something that is reflecting light next to something that's projecting light. It won't happen. So if you have a printer, great. And I know a lot of you don't, and so just do the best job you can. That's basically kind of the gray you want to be, and we'll figure it out as we go. Again, this is it's the first time for everybody, but I haven't done a grayscale. The last time I did grayscales, it was before COVID, and COVID closed all the schools down in the middle of March, but the grayscale assignment, as you know, is early in the semester. And so I was already done with all the grayscales and all the color scales for all my classes. So this is the first time I'm dealing with having to do it, you know, remotely. But everything will be cool. Like, so don't worry about it. It's like, it's not going to be perfect, but it will teach you the, pardon the pun, value of mastering, comparing values and making decisions about what constitutes a good gradation for a grayscale and what constitutes not a good gradation. Like when are grays at the right value for you to use them properly and when are they not? So this is a really great exercise, and it's why design instructors like myself have been doing grayscales in their classes for like forever. You know, I had to do it when I was an art student, and it was a pain in the ass then too. And we had to use real gouache, which is a nightmare to mix. So that's why we're using the acrylic gouache. Anyway, enough of that. So that's basically what I want you to do as the next step. So you cut all the swatches out, you sort them, Use your cheater gray to get rid of all the light grays that you don't need. Number everything. Make sure it's not on the on the actual swatch itself. Tape them down to the back of the window, as I call it, the 1 by 12 inch window on a 5 by 15 cut illustration board. Again, that's a demo I'm going to show you next on how to make one of these. And then tape them down, again, with really small pieces of tape, because you want to be able to take them off easily, and you don't want to tear your swatch, okay? And then you photograph it under the best light that you've got. You post it on the Google Drive, and then I will tell you, it's like, okay, and this part actually will be easy because in the past, when I was doing it for real, I can't write on your board. You know, if I go, okay, this one needs to be lighter, this one needs to be darker, these two need to be blah, and I couldn't do that because it's your final presentation board, and I don't want any writing. Well, now I can do it in Photoshop, and I can make little notes on your image and post it back up on the Google Drive for you to make some changes. Like I said, it may take you guys, all of you, several attempts to get this done. It's a time-consuming process. Even in a real classroom, it's really difficult because I have to deal with each student at one time. So unfortunately, there is a lot of waiting around. And there's always been waiting around, even in real life. So. Please be patient. I have to, take each student one at a time, and as you know, you're a big class, and we'll get through it. So I think that's pretty much it for the demo. And of course, if you have any questions, when you see this, we'll be in probably in class. In a Zoom situation, you can ask me questions then. Or if you're watching it outside of class and you have questions, just email me and let me know how I can help you. So that is it, I think. And now, so cut up all your swatches, get going, and we'll see how we do today. All right, bye-bye.